Thank you for staying with us. It is still the conversation here on Lagos Television. And like I said earlier, while I was taking the news point, that we'll be discussing a very critical issue here on the conversation, and that is mental health challenges and management. And joining us here in the studio is Dr. Tolu Ajomale. He is the head special projects and mental health at the Lagos State Ministry of Health. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we should begin this conversation by understanding what good mental health is, because on this side, a lot of people, when you say mental health, you think people who have, I don't want to, but you understand, right?
I'm mad, you mean?
Basically,
I didn't want to say that, but let's understand what a good mental health is, especially in a situation where we are filled with daily stress, depression, and all sorts.
So if I was going to summarize, I would say good mental health in one word is resilience. So it's not someone being happy all the time. So people make that mistake that, someone who has good mental health is always smiling, is always happy. But that's not good mental health. Good mental health is resilience. But if I were to use two words, I'll say self-awareness and resilience. Knowing who you are, knowing what your triggers are, knowing what your capacity is, and then of course, being able to bounce back when stressors come in life, because there's no way stressors will not happen. People will experience it one way or the other. The difference between someone who has good mental health and someone who has poor mental health is their capacity to be able to go through those things, to survive when they go through those circumstances.
So maybe just touch on, before I ask my question, what do you mean by stressors?
So stressors are many. I mean, people go through stressors every day. You have stressors like traffic, for example. You have work stressors. You have people who have had trauma in their past. You have people who have difficult pregnancies. Those are stressors as well. You have people who lose their jobs. That's a stressor. People who lose a loved one. That's also a stressor. Or people who are exposed to violence in one form or the other. Those are stressors.
What about hunger?
I knew like
Chronic hunger is a
Talk
stressor.
about hunger.
Chronic hunger is a
I knew
stressor.
like it was on Saturday we had the World Mental Health Awareness
Friday.
Friday.
on Friday. Okay, yeah. My question is, what do you even, when you say mental health, because people don't want to believe that, look, something is wrong with me mentally, because it's not something, it's not malaria, it's not fever, it's something that has to do with your brain.
Yes.
And how eventually, if you don't treat it, your body breaks down and
True.
begin to feel the symptoms. So why do people always allude it to spiritual, allude it to family, or because he's not man enough to understand that Sheko Yeko understand? So how do you explain this?
Is very, I like the way you put it, how some people would think it's a spiritual matter, because mental health is not tangible. It's not something you can hold. So the spiritual is also something that's intangible. What we're looking at is a person's behavior, the way a person thinks, and how they're able to manage their emotions is what we're really trying to describe. So maybe there is a family element to it, especially when we're actually talking about the illnesses themselves. But usually when I have conversations with people, I try to differentiate between mental health and mental illness. Because very often if you hear mental health, you're thinking about mental illness, you're thinking about anxiety, depression, and all those other things. But that's not what it is. In its purest form, mental health is about your ability to realize your capacities. It's about your ability to cope with normal stresses, your ability to work productively, and your ability to belong to a community, to contribute meaningfully to that community. In that definition, there's nothing that says about hearing voices or seeing things. And sometimes, even the things that we probably describe as spiritual may actually be a manifestation of a mental illness.
Okay, you talked about stressors earlier. So how does one begin to now understand this mental health, manifest in you before it becomes really, really severe?
So there are many ways. So there are early signs you're basically looking at. The early predictors that a person's mental health is beginning to depreciate. So now remember we talked about good mental health and poor mental health. So it's a spectrum. So things will happen. People will go from good mental health towards poor mental health.
Okay.
If they stay in poor mental health for a long time, then they can tip over into a mental illness.
Okay.
So the things that you look out for are things like poor sleep. So you, for example, many of people who are watching, you know people who they will go to bed at night, they are still thinking about work. By the time they wake up in the morning, they are tired. So those are the early signs. You are not really sleeping. You see people who begin to lose their appetite, or people gain additional, the appetite grows increasingly because they're under a lot of stress. So different people manifest in different ways. Some people become aggressive, or they become irritable, or they lose their sense of thought, or they're in their workplace, but they're not really there. So we know absenteeism, they don't come to work. But then there's presenteeism, they're at work, but they're not really there. So they make mistakes at work, they're not even really contributing or participating. Those are early signs that the person is tilting towards poor mental health. So those are the things you need to look out for and do something about, so it doesn't become a mental illness.
I think it's quite challenging, because when you look at this, for someone that knows, you get to your office, you just see mental health issues everywhere. Seriously speaking, because you know that things are functional, because you see someone get into the office and she's literally frowning at picking fault with virtually everything that happens in the office.
Yes.
So what are the best ways to deal with mental health issues? I mean, from the workplace even to the home front, how do you deal with mental health?
In many ways, basically, there are 4 key things that people will talk about. Number 1 is knowing yourself. Okay, remember I talked about self-awareness. You need to know what your triggers are. So for example, that person you talked about who gets to work becomes very irritable, something has happened. Something is going on at home. Or something happened on the way to work. Or something has happened a few days before that she's still ruminating over. So those are the triggers that you need to know about yourself. The more you know about those things, then the earlier you're able to identify why those things are triggers for you. And if you know, then you're able to manage yourself better. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to promote your mental health, just like you promote your physical health. Because it's just as important. People who have poor mental health can also have poor physical health. There's been very strong linkages between both. We've seen people who became hypertensive because they were living with depression. Or we've had people who had a mental illness and then it manifested as a cancer, for example. So there's a very strong tie between both. So it's important to promote your mental health. Do things that will help you become more resilient. Do things that will help you cope better with life.
Okay. We've been talking about mental health.
You mentioned 4.
Okay, number 2, yeah.
Number 3 is about protecting your mental health. So, there are things that you'll be exposed to. There are some things you shouldn't be exposed to. So knowing what they are and making sure that you don't expose yourself to those things is part of the effort you may do to guard your mental health. And number 4, most important, is to restore it. Because when it is getting really bad, what can you do to make it get better? Seek help.
That is if you identify.
That's if you're aware.
That's if you're aware
Which
that
is
you
where
have
number 1
the challenge
comes in, about knowing
yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so at the workplace, I'll still stay with the workplace now. Like he said, you just come to work and you see a lot of mental health issues. Now, how do you help a colleague who is going through,
or colleagues,
who is going through mental health issue? And to add to that question, let's also talk about stigma.
So stigma is still a very big thing. Now, just to try and change that perspective, people are coming up with new titles, new names. So, for example, you may go to a hospital, they don't call it a psychiatric department, they call it a behavioral health department. Because they're trying to change the stigma around accessing that service. You now have people who are trying to make the word mental health more commonplace. So during COVID, you'd hear a lot more people on social media talking about protecting their mental health. It became a common slang, and a lot of people jumped on it because it also gave room for them to find the courage to speak.
Because young people, small thing you say like this.
Yes, but it's interesting that you mentioned that. And I know that a lot of people say, oh, Gen Zs, they're so lazy. But there's a translation across different generations of what we teach the next generation. Gen X taught the millennials a different set of things because of the times that they were living in. Millennials have taught the next generation a different set of things. So we are now all living through the lessons of the generations before us. So we're not really saying that the Gen Zs are lazy. What has happened is that they've now found platform to have more voice, to be able to say what is going on. They have more courage to be able to speak up about the things that we also struggled with, but we were silenced and we kept it in our chests. But they are more vocal about it, because if you really think about it, what are they really dealing with now? that you didn't deal with before.
And we
It's the
did
same
not
things. But they found voice. We didn't. I'm concerned now
Are we
about the
okay?
generation. Yes,
Are
you see,
we-
that's the thing.
are
Are
we
we
okay?
okay?
Yeah.
That's the question we should ask ourselves. Are we really okay?
Okay, yeah.
Because, you know, we can live with trauma for so long that we think it is normal. And then you find people who will say they went to another city or they traveled to another place. And for example, normal stress in Lagos is different from normal stress in Ibadan.
True.
True.
Very, very true.
So someone who lives in Ibadan, who lives in the stressors in Ibadan, thinks that is normal life. But for you who live in Lagos, by the time you cross there, you'll be like, so you mean there's another life like this? But you're too used to the trauma you were living in, you thought it was normal. So the question we should ask ourselves is, are you really okay?
So how do we help colleagues who have mental health?
How do you help colleagues? Number one, and I think most importantly that we can do by ourselves, beyond colleagues, beyond even our friends, is to be compassionate. More importantly than ever, because we don't know what people are dealing with at the back end. It's very easy for us to judge them, to condemn them, to name them, to label them, but we don't know. I always often encourage people to show compassion because you don't know what is going on, because you also will need compassion as well. So if you don't give it, how do you expect to receive it as well? But beyond that, as a system, we need our employers to begin to put in place employee assistance programs, to begin to enforce protocols and guidelines that can support staff, that can encourage them to be able to find safe spaces. We've now have major organizations who have mental health departments, but they've given it a wellness ambassador name, so it's also not stigmatizing. And they have programs that they release that everybody must participate in because they want to promote their mental, so nobody becomes sick. Things like taking your maternal leave, maternity leave. People often only think about the physical effect of, but there's also the mental health impact. That break is important for a woman to be able to try and find her way back. The maternity leave, the 2 weeks that Mr. Governor gave, when Mr.
men.
Fashola was there,
We men.
it was not for us to take a break. It was also for us to be able to support our wives. Because those first 6 weeks, they are prone to postpartum depression and all kinds of struggles that can affect their mood. So we are supposed to be there to support them, because we didn't go through the pregnancy, we didn't have the children, we don't know the changes that have taken place, but we need to be there to support them.
Okay, are you still talking about mental health, psychology? Because I want to move away to health, drug abuse and all of that.
Okay, maybe you can still ask, but I was looking at the nexus, the linkage between where you have all these therapists talk about the need for emotional intelligence. Is there a nexus between emotional intelligence and mental health?
Emotional intelligence is a good component of mental health. The person who has good emotional intelligence has very good mental health as well. So emotional intelligence has two parts to it. It's about how you're able to recognize your emotions and manage it, but it's also about how you recognize other people's emotions and manage that as well. So it's someone who has good mental health that is able to do that. Okay, so a person who has emotional intelligence has a very strong tendency to have good mental health. But there are other things that you also need to look at as well.
Okay, I want to find out, what if a person continues to live in denial? What can people do, or what can he or she themselves do to ensure they get the right treatment or help?
So you have three kinds of people in what you described. You have those people who don't know that they have a problem.
Yeah.
You have those people who are being told that they have a problem, but they refuse to accept it. So that's a different category. And then you have those people who know they have a problem and they are willing to get help for it. Or those who know they have a problem and they don't even want to get help for it. Okay? So for the first set of people, our specialists will call the concept insight. It means that you know that something is going on in your mind, because it's such a very difficult thing to comprehend. Many times people who are struggling at that point in time, they don't know themselves that they are struggling. It's others around them who will notice those signs, which is also the kind of model we're also trying to adopt for substance abuse as well. We're no longer targeting the victims or those who are at risk. We're targeting the gatekeepers, the people who can see the signs, so that they can provide the support. So the only thing you can really do for someone who is either in denial or doesn't, or you know that if you bring it up with them, they will probably get very aggressive about it, is just patience and support.
Patience and support, that's a very short supply in Lagos. Virtually everyone in Lagos is in a hurry to do something.
Again,
or
are we
stressed.
okay?
Are we okay? That takes us back to the
And when
question.
you ask a Lagosian, are you okay? He slaps you. So say you yourself, you are not feeling fine. You can't ask me that question. And I saw like 2 occasions like that today coming to work. How do you deal with millions of people in Lagos going through mental health? What is the government doing to address mental health challenge in Lagos?
So thank you for the question. Again, this is another very big issue that we have to identify. First of all, we need to identify that people even have a problem. We talked about stigma. So a lot of people have these issues, but they don't even want to come out because they're either afraid because people will label them, or they are in denial of what it is that they're struggling with. So that's one problem. So government is also working with a lot of our partners, NGOs, who are doing a lot of campaign to try and raise more awareness. And do it locally too, using local language, using plays, using different community-based approaches to target our people, to create more awareness and reduce that stigma. Because the only way we can really take away stigma is to take away ignorance. And so there's a lot of information that needs to go out there in as many formats as possible. And many people are working with us, and we have a lot of people doing incredible work in that space. So that's one. Now, if you have people who have now identified that they have a problem and they need help, we need to provide access. So the second part that government is now working on is how can we scale up access on different platforms. Number one, physical access. Which facilities can people go to? We don't have enough specialists, and we can never have enough specialists because our numbers are incredible. And of course, they're in high demand everywhere else. But Lagos still has the highest number if you're even thinking across the nation, in both public and private sector, in federal and state. So we have that advantage working for us. But we have a higher demand as well. So we're training our PHCs to be able to provide mental health services. We have increased capacity of our general hospitals to also provide mental health services. And we also have a helpline as well. So even when people don't know where to go, they can call the helpline to say, okay, I'm struggling with this.
What's the helpline?
The Lagos Lifeline is the Lagos State Ministry of Health program commissioned by Mr. Governor in 2019. So we've been running this project now for 6 years now, 2025, yes, 6 years. And we've seen incredible numbers, people dealing with all kinds of issues who have not been able to speak up before now, but they're able to get the help that they need. Some people just needed someone to talk to. So you get someone who will call you at 3 a.m. crying because there's nobody to talk to. And they're dealing with so many things. And people are dealing with a lot.
This will lead me to my question of asking how important is it to have someone that you can talk to, someone that you can be accountable to. Just, sometimes you just want to unburden. And so what are those things that one must guard his or herself with to ensure that you promote good mental health?
So there are 3 C's that I usually use when I want to talk about that. First is courage. Find the courage to be able to even find the help you need. Number 2 is compassion. If people do come to you to get help, make sure that you are compassionate enough to sit and listen. Because really, just listen, don't judge. And then 3 is connection. If I ask people now that what's the emergency number for the US, very easy. People say it all the time.
911.
Thank you, sir. If I ask people what's the emergency number for Lagos, people now have ... And because
we see it every day.
so a lot of people outside also don't know. So that's the emergency number that the state has provided. I'm asking people now that who is your emergency contact? Who are the 5 people you can call when you're struggling? You should have at least 5 people. It's not about money. It's about someone you can actually talk to. And if you don't have 5 people, then there's also a problem. But the second question you need to ask yourself is, as you have 5 people that you can call, can somebody call you too?
Is your mental health stable for someone?
Are you safe enough for people to call you and trust you to share what they are dealing with?
Okay, that's another mental health question.
It's deep.
Okay, we've been talking about workplace mental health and employees. The Lagos State government has a special unit for its employees. How accessible is it, and how has been the response by workers?
I don't like to brag about it too much.
Please brag.
Because, I mean, this is Lagos.
Please brag.
This is
Please
Lagos.
brag.
This is Lagos. We can only do it differently. It's the only state in Nigeria that has an employee assistance program we started for civil servants. We created a Lagos State Wellness Center under Mr. Governor as well. And it was led by the head of service. So it just shows that there was a lot of political will behind it, because there were issues that a lot of our public servants were struggling with, and they didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I mean, think about it. Typically, a last mile official is on the road at least 12 to 15 hours. And on the really bad days, is exposed to smoke, sun, heat, aggression from other people. You can imagine how that has impacted on his life, on his mental health, on his physical health. He needs an outlet because it's a work-related issue. So he needs somewhere where he can come to be able to let all of those things out and be able to help manage him so he doesn't become sick. So the Wellness Center is in the staff clinic in the ministry, in the Lagos State Government Secretariat, and is accessible to all civil servants.
And they be trusted when you go there to talk about your issues.
So we have
I don't hear it everywhere.
No, we have so I mean, personally, and all the people that we have been working with so far, I don't treat mental health care like any other business. Everyone involved in this has taken it because of passion, primarily. So you can know that they have that ethos behind what they are doing. Confidentiality, privacy are the two things that we don't play with, either at the helpline or in any of our physical centers. We've had people who've called us to say, oh, I want to send the staff to you. I want to sack the person. So evaluate the person and make sure the person has poor mental health or has a mental illness or have justification to sack. And we say, no.
Why would you sack such a person?
I can never do that. And this is a very high, this is someone that I know that they can post me to Badagry if they want. But because of what we do, we had to find a way around it because we want to protect our people. That's why we have a law for mental health in
How many
Lagos.
people are aware about this law?
So which is another thing we need to also promote and create more information about. Again, this is Lagos. We're the only state in Nigeria that has its own contemporary mental health law. And we passed this even before the national law that came to be in 2021. So he knows that we are driving this. We're very, very committed to making sure that people have access to mental health care.
Okay, the past couple of days, I'm sorry to bring this up. My wife and I have observed driving around Lagos that there's so many people with mental challenges. First, I'd like to know what Lagos State government is doing, because not all of them are like really that serious that can be attended to. That's a psychological, psychiatric issue. I don't understand. But the second leg of my question is, how do you convince people in Lagos or in Nigeria that, look, what you need is therapy? Go sit down with a fellow human like you and onboarding yourself to the person, and you feel good at the end of the day. How do you begin to tell people that as a man, you are not supposed to share that much? You are supposed to keep to yourself, hold it in, and be a man. That is the message we've always said. And for women, because you've got capacity to handle that much, if you don't cry it out, women have got resilience to handle so many things.
It's a lie. We don't have resilience.
But also, think about it. Why do you think they live longer than we do?
Exactly.
We're not superheroes.
They cry a lot. So how do you begin to convince? This is a generational thing.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial, and everything is just be a man,
And
bottle up, hold it in, and so
Yeah,
how do you
hear
begin
that
to
a
tell
lot.
people, sit down, go meet someone? I'm telling you, by the end of this session, you'll feel better. How do you tell people that?
So it's a progressive journey. It's not something you can do in one day. Part of doing that is what you've just done. You've started questioning the things that we were told. Many of the people in your generation are also questioning the things that they've been told. So you'd ask someone who is in the older generation about mental health, about therapy, they would think it's a foreign concept. But ask a millennial about therapy, the numbers are better in accepting the concept, even though they may not want to accept the service. But it's still better than what it used to be. So it's a progressive journey. Additionally, we need to look at how to adapt it locally. The concept of, go do therapy still sounds like a foreigner's concept. But we are doing therapy already without realizing it. Many of us, Nigeria is such a very religious country. We have a lot of pastors who provide counseling services. these are therapy sessions that have just not been labeled as such. Women talk to other women talk to their husbands. Therapy. I'm burdening everything on their chest. But guess what? Mr. Man is collecting it and is holding it like a man. His chest is just getting bigger and bigger with all the... Until one day, chest will blow. Everybody knows grandma, nobody knows grandpa.
Okay. Doctor, I think I need to let you go. We've been told that the live broadcast that
Oh,
is
it's going on now.
on the screen, it's on. Yes.
Abimbola said it's not true,
It's not-
that you are passing wrong information.
No.
It's not true, not
No,
yet.
That's what I've been told. And so they said I should go on with this. Just thank God. I've got the talk.
Okay, you have to talk back. Sorry. Okay, I'm the one passing the wrong
So
information.
if you
But
before they yank us
I wanted
away,
us to
so-
quickly talk about drug abuse, mental illness. You know,
This-
it's
Okay, they
always
said,
very,
they said
very-
I should sign off that we can ask. Doctor will ask this question and bring you back.
No worries.
Okay,
Thank you.
want to say thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very
Tolu
much.
Ajomale for joining us today.
Thank you very much for
And that's
chatting.
about the size of our package today. Next time we'll talk some more about our mental health. Please go talk to someone. And that's about the size. People.
Please, you can wrap
Okay,
up.
they said
We're
we should
good.
go. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Joshua.
And I am Joy Olu.
I am Adebimpe Omotayo.
Next time.